Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 6 of the EU University Rocket League podcast. And what an episode we've got today. Looking back over all of the NSE Playoffs. We've also got NUEL. We've got so much we can talk about EURC qualified teams. There were side tournaments. We've even got information about the Hemis for this season. And that is a prestigious topic. I am joined, of course, by Hemi, the man with the crocodile voice. How are you doing, Hemi?
Okay, I thought you'd come up with something new before you'd announce me. We talked about how we're going to introduce each other.
But you do have the crocodile voice.
What does that mean?
It's a very deep, assertive voice.
Crocodiles don't have deep voices. They don't have voices. They go.
Hemi, just deal with your voice. Be quiet, because our other guest is new here. We've kicked out Vex because we got all the feedback that everyone just hates him. So we are joined today by RW Dragon, who I believe you might have a little bit of news for us. I don't know if you want to save that for later, but it's quite exciting, isn't it?
I mean, the teams know. The teams know already. I've already invited the first 8 teams, but maybe the first 8. That sounds a bit curious.
That's a bit familiar, maybe. Now that's of course perfect, because RW Dragon, a representative for Bournemouth, and I did just want to clarify with another statement here, because last week we did cover SpaghettiOs. We did cover the controversy of course, Will, player from Bournemouth. We want to apologise because we kind of based our information, it was a bit second-hand, and we didn't reach out to all parties for comment. Will wasn't in fact banned by NUEL for 6 months. It's been
I want to apologise as well, because I think that was partially me memeing it up. Sort of saying, it was 6 months. That was exaggeration.
It is. I apologise. It is a 9-week ban. It may feel like 6 months because it's 9 weeks was the length of the spring season. So the 6-month figure, it's been spread around. It appears to represent the time that will elapse before there is another NUEL tournament that Will is allowed to play in, of course. So that therefore doesn't just include the spring season.
Will playing NUEL.
But also the 2-month-long winter break leading up to it, and the 2-month-long exam period that follows it as well. So it's an exaggerated 6-month figure when you consider it to NSE's 3-week, whereas in fact it was just 9 weeks. So I want to apologise to NUEL, NSE, and any other parties affected by such spread of information. So with that covered, I think, guys, should we just head straight in to the championship bracket?
Oh boy.
I think.
Yes.
Okay, Hemi, have you recovered and deal with your beautiful crocodile voice? Because the first game that we had on stream, and this was a fantastic game. It was, of course, UEA against Salford. I mean, do you watch that series? Because it was one hell of a series.
I mean, I think what I recall from it has been a while. We're very late with this episode. UEA did take a while to sort of get into the groove of things. I remember Vex made a comment to me in private a while back saying it looked more like a warm-up game for them. They wouldn't, the first few games just felt slow and sluggish. Maybe they hadn't, warmed up properly, but and they were usually more reliant on Ant-Man just being Ant-Man, which we'll come to if we do end up going over stats. But yeah, so
I kind of just felt a bit hard done by it for Salford, because I don't know if you saw as well RW Dragon, but like the first couple games, I thought Arton was playing fantastic. Of course, we did see that Bluey, of course, and a lot of people from the pond, they were indeed watching, because Arton is a friend of Bluey's from school, so there was a nice clip of that from his stream. Arton was having a great time the first couple games, but then he just sort of ended up quiet. I mean, Jiggy definitely played strong through the whole section of it. I mean, like, he was pretty strong on stats, Jiggy. He got 1.05 for performance. That's technically 4th in playoffs so far. So well done to Jiggy. But it just sort of, once East Anglia, they got that ball rolling. I mean, you mentioned Ant-Man, Hemi. He is top for stats right now by a respectable margin. The top scorer, literally 1.14 goals a game, that's ridiculous. I mean, Jiggy did manage a goal a game, as KJ did as well. A hell of a lot of goals for UEA. In terms of individual performance, though, from Ant-Man, it was fantastic. Even though we say they're, of course, a great team, they are a great team. It was definitely probably a fair comment to say that he kept them in that series at points.
Especially probably the earlier stuff where they maybe had a trouble sort of getting into the groove of things. Ant-Man just sort of, popping up these amazing single-player goals. As we know, he's a very good ones player. Always
very good ones. I did actually catch this series because, of course, the winner played Bournemouth.
Yeah.
So I had quite the vested interest, and I'll be honest, I was hoping for Salford to win. and finish off the job. Mostly because watching Salford, I felt like with Honours in the ranks, I felt like it was the more likely win. Despite, I will say, the Barclays, the player day, I can't remember the Game Fest. That was the name of it.
I remember.
I remember talking to Cloud, Will, and Ward straight after that match where we won 4-2, and they said, "Whoa, that was a tough series."
Yeah,
they were kind of surprised they took it. So I knew Salford would, either way, they were going to be a tough customer. Either way, UEA was going to be a tough customer.
Yeah.
But I still sort of felt, right, two of the guys have already played against this team before. They probably played UEA before. But at least I've also seen Salford before.
Exactly.
So I was in for the later series in the voice call. So I'll talk about that
That's
when
true.
we
can go on to the Bournemouth series
semi-finals.
after. I just wanted to say about Salford though, because unfortunate for them dropping there. But top six still, considering the roster drama they had this season, I think big credit to Salford still making championship playoffs. And sure, they sort of seem like they snuck into an extent. That was a fantastic performance, and they really easily could have had that series on another day.
It's a fantastic team.
It really is.
It is. I mean, Stephen.
Whoa.
You and I, we've been around. We were there for.
I think I'm about 40 years old now.
Yeah, we've been here. We've been here for 4 years.
Yeah.
Being around the scene.
Big
We've
up
seen
the Zoomers in chat, yeah.
Mate, yeah.
No, not you guys, you're old.
I
Even you.
casted the first NSE final.
That's true. That's true.
I think that technically made me one of the first NSE casters to cast the final at LAN.
It is. I mean, we don't even have LANs anymore. That's how old you are. We don't have
Remember
LANs
that?
anymore. Back in my day, we had LANs. It's like, I just feel like going into next season. How do you? I feel like Salford are still contenders for playoffs. Like, this is a team that
always
still has room to grow, assuming they stick with that roster, which I kind of hope they do, rather than have more shuffles. It just feels like
they'll have
they
more
really
shuffles.
can. Yeah,
I think they've had that sort of drama, and then they're done for the rest of the year.
We tend to have thought that in the past and then been proven wrong before. So.
The one thing I would say to the Salford team, after being here and in fact playing and casting and watching teams, spring split is always the more difficult split. I will say that. I stand by that opinion.
It's like freshers come out from underneath as well. They just appear.
Yeah. Sort of the freshers sort of get into their team. They sort of the winter split. They're sort of a little bit shaky with this new team, and maybe possibly new to playing competitive. Even if they are high level, they might not have considered it before, and they might have just thought, "All right, ranked's fine for me."
Yeah.
So now they're playing in a tournament. By the time spring comes around, they're all sort of like, "All right, I get NSE. I know what I'm doing. Let's get to it." And that's sort of what I'm going to expect from Warwick coming forward. I think I started the season by saying Warwick aren't going to get championship, but we're going to start seeing a better Warwick by the time the brackets and playoffs start coming along, which I'm sure we're going to get onto later because I've seen the itinerary for the episode. But Warwick are going to start playing, and they're going to challenge more actively for the top six, even though I think they'd landed just outside. I think
the whole Warwick saga is just like, nobody quite knows how and what happened with poor Warwick. I mean, they sort of did it themselves, really. Poor Warwick, but yeah, they shot themselves in the foot, unfortunately. Let's get on to the series that UEA then went on to go on to. So they played Bournemouth, of course, in the semis. And we got a fair bit of Bournemouth here right with us. I mean, I just wanted to talk about Honours because we had mentioned him right at Hemi. What a performance he had in that series.
Let me tell you about Honours, because playing for him for a split, it's so funny. Because every single Tuesday he sort of comes into the voice call, is like, guys, I'm not playing that well in ranked. I don't feel good about this. It's going to go badly. Then he does shit like this. Sorry, I probably can't swear. But then he does... Well, okay, good. Then he does shit like this.
I mean, it was
then he comes out.
Performance.
Then he comes into the game and he's just popping off every single time. And me and Valk are just there watching, trying to pop off with him. Which, to be honest, actually, considering the week we got promoted, that was the moment that all three of us were playing pretty much our best. I'd say I was the only one off in that team that week, and we managed to get through. So
just even like casting that series, the overtimes as well were unreal at times. Like Onos really did just keep Bournemouth in it. Like it was just a massive shoes for him to actually fill. Hemi, let me ask Hemi, because I think Hemi's got the stats. How many saves a game did Onos make?
Let me count. 3.
3. The next after that is 2.33. That's Crimson on Loughborough. But 3 saves a game. Can you testify, RW Dragon? Does he just save everything, or was it just a crazy day for him?
He doesn't save everything, but when he's on it, when he's focusing, he's a absolute machine.
Oh.
He's
but
incredible.
It wasn't quite enough of a machine. UEA did take that series in Game 7.
That's the thing. He'll make one mistake and he'll just sort of be on himself. It's like, I'm so sorry, guy. I'm playing awfully. Everything's going wrong. That's why. Like just after the big overtime loss in, I think it was Game 2, right?
Yes.
I instantly just jumped into the Discord and wait, Onos, shut up. You are amazing.
There is no
great.
need to be upset.
I stayed for the rest of the series trying to put in coaching advice, because I mean, I coach now a top RLCS player, Cynical. Former top RLCS player.
I know. I feel like
Cynical.
coaching Onos is more of an honor right now, given the performance he put in.
But yeah, I sort of jumped in, not really to coach the team at first. It was more of just being like, what in inverted commas Sizz does with NRG, sort of just hype them up and get them confident, when actually I think said in Subpar podcast, other podcasts, whoa. But Sizz is not just a hype man. He's a former RLCS player. He's got weight in the team. He can talk about how to win a match. And so I was feeling like I was just in there to sort of say, all right, go on guys. But actually I did try and put my input in.
Yeah.
Ended up losing though, so sad.
I mean, how to win a match. On the other side of the bracket, the quarterfinal was Loughborough versus Portsmouth. Of course, in terms of statistical performance, I want to give a shout out to Stamina. Great performance from Stamina in the fact that Stamina shot over 40%. 40% of his shots over that, 40.74%, literally resulted in a goal. And in terms of knowing about winning, I think that was sort of testament to just how Loughborough performed. I mean, Portsmouth, they had a hard time. I mean, of course, now playing with Canoy has improved massively that season. Stats for the bracket did not have a great time. Potentially was a little bit out of his depth, but still massive credit to Portsmouth getting to that spot. And they really were in that series at one point. I mean, like Sigmoid, he was in that series casting at one point before his internet basically died. But as the series went on, it really was Loughborough who sort of clutched it out. Did either of you guys watch it? I mean, I had to hop in halfway through, obviously, with my yogurt, but I mean, it was a great time watching. But yeah, it was, I don't know. It's the worst analysis I could ever say, but Loughborough just sort of did the winning better.
The unfortunate thing is, the only time I hopped in was just after you finished your yoga. So I was just there in chat watching Orion spam. he eats snack.
Yeah. I mean, Matt M also, for the playoff bracket so far, top playmaker. So when Matt M sort of previously, you could say that he was a bit of like the centerpiece of the Loughborough team back in our day. But now he's kind of almost sort of matured into just a sort of more stepped back role where Stamina's shooting ridiculous percentages and Crimson's showing up with clutch goals.
He really has become Cronovi of the UK
He's
uni
the Cronovi of the uni scene, it's true.
He's stuck around for a while and he's just adapted to his team.
Yeah.
So when's he getting washed?
After he graduates.
So we'll see. We'll see if he's washed come the final. But I don't know. The final will be an interesting point because we can talk about that when we talk about NUEL as well. Because the semi-finals that Loughborough went on to was against Kiel. Of course, Kiel, top of league play. Kiel, top points. I mean, in terms of the Kiel roster, like time constant, he was just champ 2 when he arrived at uni last year. I know he built his own PC, and over time, his improvement is almost testament to Kiel's improvement as a whole. I feel like K3 and Poddy are so solid, but we kind of like expected them to be solid this whole time. Whereas Time Constant, like by the start of this NSE season, he was already like 1900. Like when you look at the playoff stats, Time Constant played the best on that Kiel team. Like I don't know if that means they've peaked or they can do better going into Spring Split, because at the end of the day, it's hard to do better than top in league play, but that performance in that series was probably not what they were hoping for. Of course, Time Constant, big showing up, and I know K3 did get some greatly important goals, but I feel like Polly and K3, for their standards, probably underperformed a little bit. I mean, that was the series that I probably saw the least of. Sadly,
it's a bit weird to say, looking at the stats, and we've told in the sheet not to like list them, but 2 Kiel players are basically at 1 for player rating, and then Poddy's at 0.7. But you look at what's happened with Poddy, he's got 3 golds.
That is true.
And he's top for so-called aggressiveness, which I'm not sure is how that's calculated.
I mean, that may be a part of his shot percentage.
It's basically a total of 3 goals, unfortunately. Wait, no, it's less. He was getting... No, Poddy only scored 1 goal in that series, sad. Poddy, if you're listening,
so much aggression.
We're not blaming you, but the stats, if we just looked at stats without any context, we would blame you. Poddy confirmed kicked from Kiel, as that we have basically just confirmed that, unfortunately. Big shout out to Tom Constant. I feel like Poddy was a big part of getting him to top of league play.
To be fair, he's got the Adam G shooting percentage there at 5%.
That is an Adam G shooting percentage. That is 5.2% conversion. I mean, I guess we could just say Poddy didn't have a great day. I don't know if he just found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time. The stats would say, but I don't know. I wish I saw more of the series, but maybe Loughborough were just continuing to clutch up. I mean, when one of the opponents is shooting over 40%, what can you really do? I guess it'd be hard to call until we see Kiel, show up in, potentially new tournaments that are happening at the start of next year and heading into spring season, of course. But Loughborough's playoff run just sort of had to carry on. It's just a little bit unfortunate because, they could have probably stomped that series. It was like, were Loughborough 3-0 up when they were watching? Because I tuned in and it looked like Kiel were coming back, and then they sort of just, yeah. No?
I can't really say.
No. Well, we have our little bird here went out a message saying Loughborough went 3-0 up and then started sleeping as Kiel won game 5 4-0.
Okay, that is right then.
And then Loughborough clutched up.
It's just a power nap.
Matt M nailed every double touch. Okay.
But will he have to nail every double touch for them to win? Does he actually have to pop off for them to win? Will we say that Loughborough played great in the games that they won? Or did Kiel only get games because of games Loughborough were sleeping in? These are all questions that are hard to answer without more evidence.
It's clearly only Matt M sleeping.
I see.
Because he's old.
Yes, actually, that does add up.
There's the punchline. There it is.
We also... who would win out of Bournemouth at full strength and Loughborough now? Because I think it's fair to say that during the season, Bournemouth were most people's sort of favourites to take it before our controversy happened. So to open up, we can go with the most biased perspective. Would Bournemouth win against Loughborough at full strength, RW Dragon?
Now, you say I'm going to be most biased, but I'm actually going to put my casting head on.
Okay.
And actually consider this properly.
Yes, consider.
But I am going to end up with the biased opinion. I reckon it would be an incredible series. No doubt in my mind, it would probably be series of the split. If it were to happen in front of us. And not only that, I would actually back Honours in the place of Ward.
I mean, Honours clearly is the man who performed the best in a playoff environment.
So straight after the final, Ward said, Honours, please take my spot. You were amazing.
I mean, Ward did not show up great statistically, to be fair.
If it was Ward, if it was the team we entered the split with as Will, Ward, and Cloud, I reckon we would have them in 7.
Okay.
And it'll be one of those series where I would say 3 times out of 10, and if I were to expand it, it'll probably be closer to 65 times out of 100 Bournemouth would take it.
Okay.
I'm being super confident with that. That's a slight bit of bias creeping in. But I think the majority of the time, I reckon Bournemouth would take it.
That's fair.
But Loughborough are so much in their right to be able to take it.
It's one of the series where you're
an incredible team.
And so much near the end of your seat that you fall off it during multiple times of the series.
Exactly.
That's the sort of grand finals we're going to have with UEA regardless, I'm hoping for. I mean, Hemi, do you agree with this sentiment? Or
it's fine. You don't have to go with Bournemouth just because I'm here.
If you look back at the main weeks of league play, what was the most obvious thing you could see at the top of the Nationals bracket? And that was Bournemouth sweeping every team.
Except
Loughborough,
except Bath.
except Bath, which is what I'll take that. But
Which was a different type of sweep, actually.
if it's these teams, I know Loughborough obviously in the championship bracket so far, 4-2, 4-1. I think their scorelines of both of their games. Let me have a quick check here. 4-2, 4-2. But both games 4-2. So they are dropping games. But the thing is, if Bournemouth played these teams early in the season and would sweep them, and I think just having that, even if you're going against like a team that good, I don't think there's much chance for Loughborough. There's a decent, but I can't sit here and say I think Loughborough.
It's
going to win
weird
that
the Bournemouth guy backs Loughborough a little bit more than the more neutral person in this.
Like I'm not enjoying sitting here and backing a transphobe. But
Jesus Christ, mate! Christ.
Kidding.
I'm
But
gonna add him on Discord. I'm gonna tell him right now.
Wow.
wow.
Time to leak the
Not
podcast.
fair enough. Not fair enough. I'm just going to refuse to make a prediction. I think I haven't seen enough of full roster Bournemouth. I mean, I saw them in the Barclays
That's fair.
show match, but
It's
just depends in
feeling of-
context for me.
yeah.
Context for me. I think if you took the teams on paper with a no pressure environment, I would back Bournemouth for sure. Loughborough are more experienced. Of course, this particular Loughborough lineup, maybe only Matt M has that experience. I think therefore it's very fair to back Bournemouth, but at the end of the day, Loughborough are the team that have earned their way to the finals. They've behaved themselves. And
are
it's
all
like,
very
yeah.
high-ranked players. They've come into some amount of pressure at some point. There's the Barclays Invitational that happened before NSE, I believe it was, and Bournemouth took that one fairly easily. I can't remember exactly which teams played in that one, but that was like I don't think it's as like I don't know, but I just think it's Bournemouth.
Do you want to talk about NUEL playoffs now, or do you want to go into into Challenger bracket? and
I
stuff?
don't like Neil.
You don't like NUEL? Okay.
Yeah, they gave us a
right,
6-month
we'll go.
ban.
True. I mean, an effective 6 months, but it's like.
They didn't give you; they gave one player.
I mean, we can definitely ban RW Dragon, maybe. It's an option.
Yeah, I'll see.
Oh, no.
I think we're going to talk about
please,
NUEL. I think
no.
it makes more sense to talk about NUEL because a particular matchup in NUEL, the NUEL upper bracket finals, was Loughborough against UEA, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Loughborough against UEA, but that happens to be our NSE Championship Grand Finals as well.
Well, there it is.
I mean,
There we go. Got spoiler alert.
no. I mean, there were 2 overtimes in the series, but do you feel like it's a bit of a precursor for the Grand Finals, Hemi? Or I mean, it was Loughborough winning 4-1. Do you see that happening again, or?
This is the upper finals, so
Yeah.
the grand finals and are still to go. If it's between, I think, Warwick and UEA will come to those in the
Warwick and
second.
UEA is
because
the lower final, yeah.
Yeah, so Loughborough taking 4-1. That does seem to be quite a dominant performance. I didn't catch any of the games. I don't know what the scoreline for each game is. I'll have a look if I can
It's
find
4.
one.
I mean,
while
Loughborough
Sarah's
won
talking.
4-0 in game 1, but then UEA won a 2.5 minute overtime. The next overtime, clearly a very crucial one, went the way of Loughborough, and they then won game 4 and 5 3-1. So it's a pretty close series. Potentially unfair to say that it was 4-1 scoreline, but at the end of the day, UEA put up 6 goals in those 5 games. That's not tons when you consider that Loughborough, they put up 14.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a disparity there, but it's also, I think we've been saying it all season. Any team at any point can beat another team in the top 6.
I mean,
I
especially
think
when
this
it
is just
is a
the day for
grand
Loughborough.
final environment, and you know it's the grand final of Winter Split. It's still all to play for, but I think it's fair to say with that result, maybe it'll be reversed when we see the actual grand finals if UEA can beat out Warwick, or if Warwick can find some form of redemption through NUEL here. But I think it's fair to say, I mean, would you say RW Dragon, like, Loughborough now come in as favourites?
I think it's fair to say that.
Yeah.
I would. I think either way, considering how Loughborough are, considering the past, and looking at it now, and considering we have still got Matt M always in there, I reckon it's always going to be the same.
I'm just
I
worried.
reckon Loughborough's going to be up there.
If UEA are going to put up 6 goals in 5 games, I can't see them winning any series really, regardless of the environment. They always have like great defense, but the question is, can they find many offensive opportunities that don't involve, say, either Ant-Man popping off or, say, KJ getting a big demo? I mean, those those could potentially be reliable at a time, but then when you need them the most, they might not show up, and sure, they can get great teamwork goals that they have shown us. Some of the best goals of the season, I think, have been scored by UEA team plays, but those are the sort of team plays that happen once a series, and they need consistent goals, and the sort of consistent goals tend to come from just outspeeding your opponent at forcing mistakes, which seems to be something that Loughborough clearly are able to do against them.
Yeah.
I think what's more telling is that I told the Bournemouth team, get some space, get some separations, make sure you're sort of split apart and going fast as you can.
So the difficult part
that spacing comes in. Loughborough are exactly like that, but it's not something they need to be told. It's something that they kind of do by themselves. So, and what we won and won 3 games using that style. A style that is not exactly that had to be told to us, but not for Loughborough. They're just gonna.
And the two teams that are also so different in terms of experience, though. Like UEA, I think they're the first team in an NSE final where they have their entire roster. None of them actually played in NSE Season 1, whereas Loughborough, the complete opposite of the table. This is their 4th NSE final in 5 seasons. Like, that's kind of crazy. They've been in the final of like the last 7 of the last 8 major tournaments. If you go back to literally like November 2017. Came second in a lot of them. To be fair, it's a very valid point.
I do remember that being a big storyline going into, I think it was Newcastle versus Loughborough in 2018 spring.
Yeah.
And I always talked about that. It's like, Loughborough can get to these finals, yes, but can they win them?
Yeah.
And they ended up did.
I mean, Martin can get a lot of prize money regardless,
He's been collecting.
Clearly the Cronovi, he's like right at the top, and if he wins, he's going to be pulling out with quite a lead, I mean, he's been in NSE finals with 6 different teammates at this point. I mean, on the other side, like I say, UEA very unexperienced. I mean, you could say Bournemouth were quite unexperienced, but then we've never seen Loughborough play against Bournemouth with their full roster, right? Of course, Loughborough did beat Bournemouth in, say, week 2, but again, Onos was playing in Cloud's place that time, I think. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was first week where we had to take the L and get relegated.
Poor Bournemouth Red.
Poor Bournemouth Red. We've really been the punching bags.
It's true.
And it's pretty much been no fault of our own.
Wow, okay. Try not getting into a single playoff, bruh.
We had to forfeit our playoff.
It's unbelievable.
I've played in 1 playoff, and we did make it to the top 8. So
sad times for staffs, like I mentioned, in both Challenger bracket and NUEL. In terms of NUEL, they went out to UWE. UWE proving consistently to be an okay team, just not great enough. They lost it, unfortunately for them, in Game 7 to Warwick. I'm kind of hoping that Warwick can find some sort of redemption. Maybe it's just okay, so speaking about, of course, the NSE Grand Finals on Saturday, before it even comes on Saturday, we're going to have one hell of a pre-stream. It's going to include, of course, the 3rd place match between Kiel and Bournemouth. There's going to be the old school matchup between old school Lancaster and old school Loughborough. They'll be using their the rosters from way back in the day. No spoilers there, you're going to have to tune in to see them. And there will, of course, be the University 6-man 1v1, v1, 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 v1. I've lost count of how many of the ones I've said here. There's one more v1, thank you. But I want to quick predictions on those fixtures. Of course, I would say we have the predictions of myself, Hemi, and RW Dragon, but actually, something has just burst through the cat flap. It's actional. Hello.
I am here. Hello. How are we?
Whoa!
The people listening to the podcast.
Actually, the 3rd place matchup between Kiel and Bournemouth. We've heard so much Bournemouth propaganda, but who do you think is going to take that?
No, even sitting in the same lobby as RW Dragon, cannot in good conscience predict Bournemouth to win that matchup. I've seen
I do
Kiel.
have a knife.
Oh, you're nowhere near me, mate. I have seen Kiel go from strength to strength all season long, and I
Except
think really
until the
Until
last
the
series they
semi-final.
played.
well,
yeah.
yes, I didn't see that though. I wasn't watching,
Oh,
so
it's because you weren't watching. You're the lucky mascot.
doesn't count. Yeah, so I'll be there on Saturday, and therefore they're going to win.
Okay, that's a fair argument. That's a fair
Whenever I'm
argument.
in their lobbies, they win because they're always playing me. So when I'm going to be in their lobbies and watching on Saturday, they'll win.
I'm getting the slight sensation that you don't agree with that.
I kind of agree with it.
You can't
I
agree.
This is going to be a tough one. I think we've got nothing to lose here, in a way.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Hold on.
I think
So what
after
did Kiel have to lose?
everything.
Both teams can lose. No, both teams can lose the
have
third
you
place
talked
prize
K3?
money.
Have you?
I mean, K3 has a 3 in his name. Why wouldn't he come third?
Because that
Can't argue
3
with that.
stands for 4-3 up top. Good job, me. Anyway, so,
My head just exploded.
Kiel Team 7 stands for Game 7. K4 plays for York. Thanks.
Yeah,
Sam.
I think K4 does play for York, so clearly you've just got it all wrong. Actually, this is irrelevant. We can say that Kiel will be getting third place due to the Bournemouth representative just throwing on their behalf here in this discussion.
Yeet.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm biased when I say that I'm most excited for the Lancaster versus Loughborough show match. I mean,
Oh yeah, you are.
I
Well, I am
don't know
casting
just
that.
how
Thanks,
many,
Steve.
how insane is that series is going to be. I mean, a 4-0 to Lancaster. I don't know if anyone really wants to see that, but I guess that's
Still
probably
kinda
what's going to
huge.
happen. All right,
What was the final score of the last?
4-2. It was 4-2. Back in the day, it was 4-2 in the the first ever
It
NSE
was
final.
Arrow 2, then NSC
Was
Winter
it 4-1?
1.
I think it was
I can't
4-1 in
remember.
NSE finals. I think I was just over
I
so fast.
I didn't cast the first one. That
I
was
just
like
remember scoring the
Digital
winning goal and it was
Bacon
like already
Switchblade
over.
J.
I just sort of sat in net while Orion and
I
DMAC just sort of ran
did.
around and score goals.
No, I casted NSE Season 1 Sin,
Yeah, that's what I'm on about.
but I'm thinking about Arrow 2.
But I do think that it will be a slightly different roster for Loughborough due to availability. So I think we may indeed see... I'm scared, personally, because I'm most scared of Garegious. So I do think he's going to step
Big
in
man.
formish. I mean, Garegious is... If I'm going to lose, I want it to be to Garegious. So it should be a great series. Hopefully we will just come out with a dub, to be honest.
I'm going to go with the team that I had Nando's with before the
Wow.
Newcastle Loughborough game
Wow.
the next day.
That's just...
Well, I'm going to predict my third place thing because since no one asked me.
That's true, Henry. That's true.
I'll ask you, Henry, what
I mean-
do you think is going to happen in the third place
In,
playoff
in,
match
in the
this
third
weekend?
place match of NSE, I can't wait to see it. I'm probably not actually going to watch it. I'm going to say Kiel.
It's the correct
Yep.
answer, Henry. Well done.
Correct answer. You're safe tonight.
Yikes, I can't wait to coach the Bournemouth team to victory now.
I mean, really, just forget about the third place and the Lancaster Loughborough show match. The hardest match to predict would be who would
Didn't
win.
ask me about the Loughborough one. Oh my god.
It's who would be the 1v1v1v1v1v1v1.
Watch. Bruh.
That would be the hardest thing to predict, surely.
Steve.
What?
Is anyone actually going to be able to predict something here, or are you just
No.
going to keep moving on before, like, you know, the important people talk?
Wow.
He interviews on
being
a
a tunnel.
podcast like he casts a Rocket League match.
Exactly.
Way too fast for anyone's own good.
I mean, the problem is,
I try
If
to,
I ask
you know,
Arsenal, I get a load
I
of-
think you're
I
my
get a
best
load
friend in this little
Kiel.
Discord call right now. Steve, shut up. I try to, who do you think out of Lancaster and Loughborough's going to win?
I'm going to be honest with you. When these players were at their peak, I was probably about 15. So I have
probably 12,
no
it's fine.
idea.
That's right, ma'am. You have peaked.
No. But I don't know much about NSE Season 1. I'm pretty sure I wasn't even at university.
well,
And-
Lancaster slapped them in the actual finals.
Okay. All right. Well, as Lancaster did that, and I'm sat in here with Tylacto, I might predict a Lancaster win. But I think I'm going to make it a bit closer. I think it'll
I
be
might
probably
use the grog.
4-3.
You know what? Okay, it's time for my prediction, if anyone actually cares. So, I'm going to say Loughborough's
I
going to win,
don't.
because fuck you, Steve.
Okay, right. That's
Reasonable.
probably
Big
why-
crying baby
probably
bitch.
why we didn't ask them.
Well, there's balance, at least, you know.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
You're gonna throw because you're angry in your head. You will think, okay, if you are gonna you're gonna whiff a save, right? And when you do, okay, you are gonna think of me laughing so hard, falling back in my chair laughing, and you will then be destroyed for the rest of the series. There we are. That's my predictions.
I actually am though. Like you're in my head. You actually are.
Free.
I mean, already when I go to sleep at night and I close my eyes, I see Hammy's face. So this is just too much. Oh my goodness.
Okay, now we can move on.
All right. So, I mean, if
Oh,
we're going
actually,
to
I can't move on.
move on through the bracket,
Can we move on?
I don't know if it's fair to predict the final. I mean, we already talked about the fact that Loughborough have slapped UEA in NUEL. It's fair to say we could call it a slapping. But the one person we didn't talk to at that point was, of course, Actional. He was outside in the garden before he came through the cat flap.
I was eating my dinner.
What do you think about the NSE Grand Final?
I don't know. It's hard for me because the only team I've seen consistently this season is UEA. I've seen them play quite a few times and they looked really good. But then I watched Loughborough, sort of blast their way through to this final earlier on, and that has sort of put a bit of a spanner in my UEA fan club sort of train that I was trying to get going.
Yeah.
I want UEA to win, not because I have anything against Loughborough, but just because I really like the way
I am
UEA
in that
play.
boat. I think that Loughborough will win, but I want UEA to win, to be straight up.
Yeah. I'm going to optimistically, just so that, if anyone actually listens to me, that they'll think back to this if UEA do win and go, oh, wow, that was... So I'm just going to say, yeah, UEA 4-2.
Wow.
Oh, look at him go.
Sorry, I was just laughing because since for our general chat, stop pussing around who is going to win.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to make it Hammy. RW Dragon, what do you
answer.
think?
What did I think of the final?
Yeah, just a straight up prediction.
I think we all have to be in the same boat of thinking, Loughborough's going to take this. But in the shock that UEA does, everyone get on the UEA party boat.
Okay, so those are the two other predictions that matter. So, Hammy.
We're all going to UEA to sleep in Queen Scott's bed.
I almost went to UEA.
I've
The
spent
second
all week
women.
perfecting my KJ copy pastas to be pasted out into stream at any moment that I can find.
So, I mean, talking about our championship playoff and the fact I think we mentioned it on broadcast that the top four, of course, Loughborough, UEA, Kiel, Bournemouth, they are now invited to EURC next year, which is very exciting for them. But there are other teams invited for EURC. In fact, we've already got 7 other of the teams confirmed, including Sapienza Roma, great Italian team. We saw them in the EUR Winter Cup. Of course, the next one is on Sunday. You should absolutely play it. They've got Lindo, they've got Bongo D. I kind of expect them to be a little bit better in that bracket, but maybe they just maybe didn't show up great on that day. There's a very strong team there. Literally, they won the league play of the Wildcard League, so they're already confirmed top 2. We're waiting on the semi-final to see who will join them from there. In terms of another league with 2 spots, you've got the Irish League. They had their semi-finals on Tuesday just passed, but their finals you can watch in the Tuesday coming next week. That's the National University of Ireland Galway, so Newig Griffins, which is a cool name. But you've got the TUD, Technological University of Dublin, the TUD Apes. They actually were in EURC last time, right? I don't think it didn't go amazing for them, but they've got a stronger roster now. I think they've got mostly like 1800, 1900. So that's honestly, that's pretty exciting for them as well. We also have 4 of the confirmed Polish teams. I don't know if you guys know any of the players on these rosters, but I think it's fair to say they have pretty cool names. We've got Magawi White, that's the Silesian University of Science and Technology. You've got the Gdansk Lions. How many Lions teams do we have now? Can we count them?
4.
It's possibly 4.
4.
Yeah.
We've got Loughborough Lions, Northern Lions.
In the break.
Is there anyone else?
Salford
Lions, of course. How could I forget? That's a lot of... that's the Gdansk University of Technology. We've got the Raw Claw Bankers, which I'm just going to go on a limb here and say they've got to be the best team coming out of Poland, potentially with actual reason, and it might just be because their name ends in anchors, and I just think great teams tend to do that. It might have something to do with Lankers, but then we also have Griffey, who we really don't know which university that is at all. Don't really know what to expect of these 4 teams coming out of Poland. I know they had a lot of teams in their league, so they're going to get 4
There
spots,
is one thing
yeah.
you could expect from, especially the Magawi White, as we had a rough translation.
Rough translation, huh?
Yeah, it translates roughly or literally to White Wizards.
A magical performance they're going to be putting in, of course. There's definitely no references there.
I'm sliding on my desk.
Those
I'm telling
of you
man,
who are listening to the podcast who don't understand that reference, brush up in your American history, especially towards the sort of civil rights era. You may want to get it on that.
Yeah, I'm just saying the Bankers will be the best team. I mean, they actually do have Taylor on their roster, who we know is a very capable player, but it's just, they're called Bankers. It's fantastic. But, I mean, in terms of other allocated spots, I know Belgium will get theirs in January. They've got 2 spots, same as Netherlands. Also, in January, they'll get them. And then that just leaves the 12 spots that you can get through open qualifiers, which hopefully the UK are going to get all 12 of them.
Or Germany.
I mean, forget German teams. The UK needs all 12 of them open spots. I mean, hopefully we're going to see a lot of people playing for them. Yeah, I mean, Germany, they do
hoping on
get their own 4. I actually had forgotten to mention them. Thank you. They get their own 4 spots. We already know really
Germany,
who are
you
going
know
to be
a lot
most
about
of
the
them.
number 4. 1966. Way.
Like, I wish our fates were the same in EURC. Maybe 2021 is the year.
We wish.
Maybe it's for the. Oh my goodness! It's for the. Let me do quick math. It's for the 55-year anniversary. That's what it's going to be. Everyone knows it's all about that.
Ty, like though, you are a caster now, so caster math is a very dangerous thing to try and take on.
Did it. Quick math right there. Not a problem. So that brings a rather nice total. I'm just so excited for you, Rossi. Really, I'm just can't wait to be covering the weekly games on the broadcast. But for the taster of it, as a reminder, do play the EUR Winter Cup number 2 on Sunday. Okay, that's the job of everyone listening. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on to the Challenger bracket and whatnot, but we're going to start with the South 2nd Division bracket because Hemi's been feeling left out and he hasn't been able to spread any Bath propaganda. Of course, if you weren't watching them streams, Hemi and Vex were casting that grand final, which as it ended up was University of Kent, I believe their B team, against Bath's bench, which wouldn't have been surprising if that was the Bath A team, unfortunately. How did that series go, Hemi?
Well, actually, we casted the same finals as well.
Oh,
so
sorry.
We'll start there. If you just pay attention for once, Steve.
Okay.
It feels like you don't appreciate me in this, dear.
Okay.
I'm disgusted. Anyways, we first of all began with Don't Be Kent versus Plymouth Leviathans. A fairly slow game. A lot of big errors on Plymouth's half, especially when they were just overcommitting time and time again, and allowing massive clears to just go straight in the back of the net with no one there to back them up. So a fairly sort of cut and dry series. Kent just taking 4 games. I think they lost one of the, they lost one of the games. I'm checking now. But it was a fairly sort of standard Kent just outplaying them in most scenarios. But definitely promising from Plymouth, honestly, if they going into spring if they keep this up. And then we had the second semi-finals, which was Essex versus Bath, and Bath's bench completely swept them, which is
right.
No, it actually can't. I don't understand how they did. There were a few iffy moments, but I think it was the scoreline of 4-0 does not do that game justice, because unlike the other semi-finals, it felt a lot quicker. The speed of play, the quality of the shots, the mechanics on both sides as well were just a lot better, I think, in the second semi-finals. But in the end, Bath just held out almost every single game.
Yeah.
I don't think many of them went to overtime either.
Essex had just 4-0 swept Oxford Brooks Vipers, which were the second seed in the bracket. I mean, then again, fair play to Kent. They had just beaten University of Hertfordshire in Game 7, and Hertfordshire were the top seed of this bracket.
Yeah. I mean, the bunch of these teams maybe getting lower the playoffs than just going against some higher teams. Bath, well, probably the only one that could have been predicted to go into the grand finals by someone who didn't know, because they were 3rd seed. So they sort of were allowed to be there. But then Kent, 8th seed going into it, definitely showing up on the day and actually on both days, Tuesday the 1st and Tuesday the 8th. But grand finals, 6 games. I believe it was Bath took the first 2, lost the next 2, and then took the last 2. So it was the sort of middle bit, especially. You say I'm gonna give a biased thing for Bath here. It was absolute dog shit.
Wow.
In the 2 games they lost, they were fucking
You're talking about the A
useless.
team, right?
No, this is the B team.
Oh.
Excuse me.
I mean,
Bath
it
Salts
applies,
being
right?
the 18 for Bath. Now, those two games, honestly, it was just Essex wouldn't do it. No, sorry, excuse me, Kent wouldn't do anything special. I was still on the same finals day. They wouldn't do anything special, but Bath were just fucking up so hard. Like, Sani, I'm gonna call you up, man. You pass them more than you pass your own team. You should be ashamed.
Unfortunate. Oh dear. I mean, we can.
We got a question here in chat. Whatever happened to the A team? I have no idea. I think they just lost in the championship, not the challenger bracket. Excuse me. But we'll come to challenger bracket later because we're starting
make our way there. The South First Division. I don't know about you, but the highlight, of course, the finals ended up being Reading against Falmouth Phoenix, following a fantastic Game 7 semi-finals between Reading and Coventry that Reading actually clutched up in Game 7. Falmouth Phoenix, they beat Warwick, unfortunate on the boys. I believe that's their C team. Maybe their D team? Does anyone know how many teams Warwick had this season?
I think that's their C team because we played them a few times.
That's fair. Of course, Falmouth Phoenix did win that series in the semi-finals 4-2, heading into that finals. It was an interesting start. I don't know if you guys saw, but Falmouth Phoenix, beautiful away kit. Reading were the ones playing in it, right? Yeah, it was a little bit of an interesting for the stream interface, but it got sorted out in the end. And, well, Falmouth Phoenix, they sorted out Reading in the end. Actually took that 4-1, so good signs for the team. Of course, they did show up a couple times in national division, so fair play, and maybe not the biggest shock. They were second seed in that bracket, and credit to them for seeing it all the way through. But I guess they'll be looking to build on that going into spring in the new year. So,
I just feel bad for Coventry.
Yeah,
It's really, they got demoted week 2, I think. Then week 3 they had to play us, playing at basically our best. That denied them in game 5. Then the next week they just weren't playing with their best team. They got stopped by another Sussex team. And then this time Reading clutch up in game 7 and knock them out of the Southern Division. Coventry, I don't feel like the team gets enough props because they're one of the teams that, of course, they're going to be challenging for promotion and being in third tier. And if they're able to push it and improve like we've seen Time Constant do, they could end up challenging for Challenger. So...
I think it is worth noting as well, there was a certain blunder in, I believe it was the grand finals, according to Sin. I'm looking at the Discord now, just in case I get anything wrong. So what is used for the broadcast is Barker's Mod plugin, which changes the colour of the teams to the university colours on their jerseys.
Yeah.
Now, there are 2 rules. There are 2 rules. Have the team colours the right way around, and never, for the love of God, use Falmouth's second colour or their away kit.
I think they violated both of them rules.
But both of those rules were violated. So Reading were in the disgusting Falmouth away colours.
I'm sure it was pretty.
For the entire
I always
thing.
liked Falmouth's colours, but then again, I only ever used the home ones. Maybe that's for the best. Probably was for the best.
I usually just I think Sin gave me the sort of like spreadsheet with all the different colours on. I usually just check that to see if they sort of meld together. I was thinking
it's an interesting site. To be fair though, Arsenal, you casted the North playoffs, alright, and I'm looking at the North Second Division playoffs here. I know what Wyverns made a fair run. May have had something to do with the fact that Rathro was playing for them. Trent, despite being second seed, they lost out in Game 7 right to Liverpool. And I'm seeing, unfortunately, potentially my favourite team in all of NSE in terms of their name, the University of Bangor. That's, of course, the Bangor Orangutans. They have always had that fantastic name. But, I mean, honestly, it looked like one hell of a fun bracket, the North Second Division, was it?
Yeah, so North Second was a little bit odd because obviously I was put on it for my uni connection. Obviously we had the Durham Burgers in at number 1 seed. They were so close to getting into that first division. And I came in and I looked at this bracket and I saw Liverpool and I thought, oh my goodness, that's Rambo John. And then I saw Watt Wyverns and it took me a minute and then I went, oh dear Lord, that's Rathro. So going into this, obviously like Hemi was saying, you have to do both semis and the final on that night. And I was thinking, well, Durham could well make the final, and they did. It was a 4-0 sweep of Bangor, who really, I don't think they did particularly well relative to how they'd been playing the rest of the season in that, in that semi-final. But then Liverpool and Watt Wyverns played, like Hemi was saying, the second semi-final was much better in terms of standard. They both played a lot faster. there were a lot more sort of, communication, team plays, all of that kind of stuff was going on. So my hopes were very, very low for the Dorenburgers going in. And like you say, Raffro subbed in for the final. Watt Wyverns beat Liverpool without him. And then Robomac left, Raffro subbed in for the final. So I thought, well, this is curtains. And I was on the Durham Uni Esports channel, so I was preparing myself for a bit of an embarrassing end to the stream. But we actually, they managed to beat them 4-1. The Watt Wyverns never really seemed to get things going quite as well as they had done with Robomac in terms of communication and passing. And the Dorenburgers were really on top of their game, and they played really well.
I mean, massive credit to Dorenburgers, really. I mean, might have had something to the fact that they had just beaten Bangor. I remember back in Egyptian times, I think it was, when Bangor were UK champions, actually, I do believe. But RGB Dragon, we were quite young back then, I think we were.
Just 18.
Yeah, literally.
I can't imagine you being young.
Wow.
I think... I'm trying to remember, because I don't think I was casting at that point. I don't think I was even casting.
I mean,
so...
Was casting even invented?
It was only
back then?
Arrow 1 that I actually started.
Well, I always remember it was Mr. Hotspice, right? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And they were playing with Pulsar and their... Oh, I don't want to get their third up because that was... it was Drewby and... Drewby and...
Drewby were...
that was De Montfort, but it was Drewby and...
Oh shit.
Drewby always played with... he used to... It was a former teammate of McLovin and Distan. It was... I think they were like top 4 Arrow League. Obviously season 1. Damn, that was ages ago. We could go down on a very deep rabbit hole here. Let's move on to the North Division 1 playoffs, because I was hyped to see Sheffield Saints go all the way here when they probably weren't really favourites, I think it's fair to say.
They were 5th seed, so of course not.
No, but like they were a team that had been in nationals, but then you look at like teams like Leeds and York, like those are very, very competent teams, and those teams didn't make it to the finals.
Has suddenly remembered the last member of
It was Dark Zone.
Dark Zone.
Ah.
But anyway, Sheffield.
Yes. How good did Sheffield look, Ashnell?
It was an absolute roller coaster that night. It was insane. I
feel that describes just Sheffield Hallam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just as a Rocket League team overall.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and only because I was backed by Loop, one of the Hallam players, in our post-match interview with him. The first semi-final, Sheffield versus Leeds, was, I think, one of the worst series I've ever casted.
It's fair.
On any stream. They
in terms
were
of
really slow to warm up, and then once they did both warm up, they were both still playing sort of very cagely, and it was one of those, I think, where because one team was making mistakes, the other team was sort of out of rotation because they were expecting better things to be coming from the other team, and it sort of made everyone play worse than they could have done. It was sort of like ever decreasing circles kind of stuff. So Sheffield managed to pull out that win, but even, like I say, Loop was describing it as shaky, and it quite was. But they got through, and then we saw York, and we were like, well, it's York, and Penelope was back. They'd got that far without Penelope, and then Penelope came back into the team for the semi-final. We thought, well, Derby Raptors 11th seed, and then they pulled Nevo out of their hats, who had less than 24 hours prior dumped me out of the MRF charity tournament on the Sunday. So I thought, well, maybe this will be a bit more of a fight, but I didn't expect Derby Raptors to do what they did, which was take a series against York in 7 games. Sint used up all of the luck he will have for the rest of his life across game 6 and 7. But yeah, as Sin has just pointed out, and as Bradders was telling us in the post-match interview, Nevo is a 5-day-old addition to the Derby Raptors team, or he was on Tuesday. So that was, a bit ridiculous that they managed to gel that quickly.
Yeah, I actually had the honour of helping scrim Derby with it was me, Joel and Adam G.
Yep.
So basically first team, but crippled. Because the best player in Bath was not playing. So didn't go... It was okay. I think Brad is way too nice to us, because he said we wiped them. We did not. They were very, very, very good team, very competent players.
Yeah.
And Nevo definitely a very, very strong addition to that team.
100%. But unfortunately for them, I think going to 7 games against York, 3-minute overtime in game 7, I think that really took the toll on them, going into the final, which they had maybe a 10-minute turnaround to sort of prepare themselves for. and they played really well. But the Saints had used their off time to remember how to play Rocket League, and they took it in 7 games. They played so much better in the final, and it wasn't a sort of unfortunate thing for the Derby Raptors. The Saints were deserving winners, but I do think it was a little bit of a shame for them that they came from that long series just before, and I think maybe on a different day they could have taken it. But both of those teams, I think, like you say, huge new addition for Derby. Saints have been solid all season. I think they'll both be looking to push well into nationals in spring.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel like Loop was MVP of that bracket, though? Was he the best and smart in World? If Loop had no fans, would that mean that you are no more on the earth? Like, if the world was against Loop, would you be against the world? Do you love Loop to your last breath? Are you a die-hard fan of Loop?
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
He did
Copy
play
pasta lacto.
very well in the final. He did.
You do get a lot out of the Loop copy pasta, don't you, Steve?
He's done well.
It's great.
To dredge it up every
I just
time.
needed to know that he performed as well as possible.
He did.
That's
He
great.
really put Sheffield on his back for a couple of the games, but all of the Sheffield boys did play really well. And that final was, much better than the semi-final. Both of them really, and it was just a joy to cast. So it was really good. And I think, like I say, both of them will be looking very much upwards going into the next split.
Okay, well, might as well. That's very nice to move on to the National Third Division. I mean, I'm going to be honest, when I tuned in to National Third Division, what I saw was Rocketeers playing with a very interesting assortment. This was back in round 2 of the National Third Division playoffs. They were playing with, was it a Scarab, a Grog, and I'm not sure what the last, was it a Proteus? They were using an interesting set of cards, but potentially deservedly because of that. Scouse E-Boys, Liverpool John Moores, they completely swept them. And maybe that was the start for Scouse E-Boys. I think it's fair to say, Hemi, they went on quite a run, didn't they?
Yeah, you can see, going all the way back, they started round 1. They didn't have a single bye. 3-0, 3-0, 4-1, and then 4-2 in the semi-finals against Brighton. And should I say what they did in the finals?
The finals was just a statement.
4-1 in the finals as well against the Southampton Stadium menu. Second
only
seed.
Slightly scary.
No, what the hell they drank that morning, but it's probably better than Ferrell's Monster since they did beat Brighton in the semi-finals.
True.
Well, let's not talk about Bournemouth Reds run because
no, that was
it didn't happen.
It was such a great run. It's like you got to the no, you didn't even get to the starting line. Forget it.
This was the week where Will just went on holiday. Of course, everyone knows that Will went on holiday. Had a nice relax. And we were going to play with our third team, but turns out Valk also scheduled a roommate Christmas dinner the same night. But I genuinely think the result would have been the same. I think BCU probably would have beaten us even if we did play or not. That's not trying to be rude to Johnny, the guy who was going to come in for us. I just think us playing with a 1500 is a vast difference from on us.
That's fair.
And I think we would need to adjust to that, and someone would need to step up and carry. So I think they would have ended up being us maybe game 5, game 4 sort of time.
BCU had been looking good, of course, until they got slapped in round 2, 3-0 by Brighton. I mean, in terms of the run, nothing really lives up to Scouts E-Boys. I mean, the closest was Beckett Bears, who they came in as 15th seed, by the way, and then they decided that they would just sweep Sussex Rogues, who were playing with Distan, by the way, in case you clarify, the full roster for them. They then, because that wasn't enough for them, Beckett Bears, they swept Loughbey, who were 7th seed in that bracket. This is Beckett Bears, recently barely promoted to National League Beckett Bears, that effectively, if you were only just skimming over NSE teams, you'd never have heard of them. And they just, sweep Sussex Rogues, sweep Bluff Boomers, and then they only lost in the quarterfinals in Game 7 to Southampton. Like
the number 2 seeds of the bracket.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if they found a new player. I don't know if they were in roids, but I really want to see them play again.
I think that's just what the bracket gives you. It gives you the sort of like, all right, let's go for it. Let's go.
And if you're not up for it, you're going to get trampled.
And I think that's sort of kind of also what a low seed does to you. It sort of puts you back and you sort of think, all right, let's have some of it. Let's just go for it. If we lose this round, we were expected to. We've done what we're expected. So let's just go at any team that we're up against and see what happens. So
They probably just felt really
it's
hard
good to
done
see
by.
someone take their seed and sort of think, nah, this doesn't matter. Let's go.
They probably just
It's
felt
quite sad that we do have some information here from Sin saying that Beckett's Bay is the only player, the only Nats team that didn't get on stream. So, sevens in chat for them lads.
literally like they
Did
probably
we
just
get
felt so
streamed?
hard. They
I
probably
don't think
felt
that's
so
true.
hard done by.
I don't think
Yeah.
we got streamed.
The only team that made
Us-
nationals. The only team that made nationals.
Sure
That
we
didn't make it.
stream.
But then Bournemouth Red, you kind of made nationals, but you didn't actually ever play a game in nationals,
Oh,
right? So
How are you going to
Sin, can-
throwing
only-
shade at the fact that I'm on the
Oh, only A
team?
team. Okay, yeah, that makes.
Fuming.
Sin clarified it's the only A team
oh wow,
that didn't get streamed.
yeah, that's just
National
even more
University,
disrespect. I mean, the Beavers did solid as well, right? Considering they were 11th seed. I mean, Birmingham B is still a competent team. I mean, maybe 11th seed is harsh for them when you think about their lineup, but it's like, I mean, clutch for them to beat back-to-back Game 5s. Like, they beat Surrey in Game 5, Lincoln in Game 5, beat Royal Holloway, who have been a fantastic, consistent team throughout this whole season. They beat them 4-1. But again,
I'm just
something
gonna
about Southampton.
I'm gonna
winning
pretend
Game
to be
7.
hard done by and say that our seed was not representative of our skill.
Well, at least it was only the 12th seed that didn't end up playing their game again, I guess, huh? I mean, that's just
Can you really get
sad.
lower than 12th?
Getting demoted first week and only getting back and playing 1 week's worth of points.
Yeah. I mean, I think for that game, Royal Holloway didn't actually have their full roster, which maybe takes a bit of credit away from Beavers, but maybe just more credit to Southampton that they stopped two teams that had fantastic momentum coming in and beat them both in Game 7. And yet then even more credit to Scouts E-Boys, who beat them so competently in the final, as well as beating Brighton in that semi-final. So great news for them, really.
Definitely. Now, on the Challenger.
Oh, well,
Challenger.
still Challenger.
Ooh, this one's an interesting bracket for an announcement later on.
It might be. It might be. You know, them two teams in the final ended up being, you know, Warwick. I don't know if it's the redemption they need to prove that they're not just massive throw artists in terms of their entire season, but Warwick do find a small bit of redemption in the fact they did win the Challenger bracket 4-1 in the finals over Orange County. Did Orange County have their full lineup for that? I remember thinking that maybe
I think they
the
were.
Switch might not have been available, but I guess if he was, that's good news. They did. Yeah, Switch was playing. Sorry. I mean, credit to Badgers, who took them to Game 7 in the semi-finals. Of course, Badgers had just won 2 Game 7s. Could you imagine if they won 3 Game 7s in a row? The Birmingham Badgers, which following, I guess, their sort of roster drama with Tris, have honestly probably looked better.
There was
I think it's fair to
drama
say.
with Tris?
No,
Huh?
it's just
Sorry,
like
Tris. Sorry, mate.
it's just like you think. Well, would Birmingham have been better if they played with that roster the whole season? Because they were a really hard team to predict coming in. But you looked at them and you're like, maybe they can be dark horses. It's really hard. There's such a variance in where they could ended up, and I think it's fair to say that most would probably be disappointed with where they ended up. But you know, they beat Trent in Game 7. They beat Lancers in Game 7. It pains me to say that. But then obviously lost to Orange County in Game 7. So the run had come to an end eventually. I mean, in terms of slight redemption again, maybe Staffs, who we effectively hadn't heard much of since Miracle Week 1, set the bar way too high for them to be able to keep up. Yeah, I mean, Staffordshire Bim Bam. No, I think you can talk about the national. I mean, they nearly launched a miracle run of their own.
Yeah. It, you know, went off well against some team called the Siebes, who I've never heard of. You know,
Just want to clarify that he has heard of them,
just some.
and he's probably on the team.
I'm very.
He is them.
I was in the lobby. I was, you know, driving around. We played.
But that didn't make you
You
play.
got swept.
We did. To be fair.
You got 0 games.
Yeah, we did. The only 0
Man, might as well have forfeited. That's what we did.
Yeah. Well, what can you do? Yes, look.
I mean, at least
I'm
you're going to a
gonna
playoff,
rush
you know.
hard onto what Sin's just posted in general chat, which is that Siebes is still the highest B team in NSE. And
That's
all of our
respect.
games were within 1 goal. We went to 2 overtimes, but they were.
But you did lose 4-0 at the end of the day.
We did.
You did
Yeah.
lose 4-0.
We
That
did.
is unfortunate.
Just
I
want
mean,
to clarify.
at least they went on, and credit to you, they did actually beat UWE in Game 7, which is kind of revenge for the result in NUEL. But sadly, they couldn't continue the week one.
They also won in NUEL,
miracle standards. Did they actually beat? No, I don't think Staffs beat UWE. No, they didn't. I told you I was right. UWE beat them 4-2 in NUEL in lower bracket. Yeah. But of course Nottingham didn't. We didn't see any Nottingham miracles. Unfortunately, they didn't have their full roster, sadly, for that bracket. But I think the story of the Challenger bracket was a sort of reassurance that yes, Warwick are good. They just really did throw that hard in league play. Is sort of what we're getting. But of course, at least they made sort of top 8 NSE this season, which might have some relevance, in particular, going into the very start of 2021, might it?
Oh, wait, before we move on, I do believe we are losing a member quickly. Achal, thank you very much for coming on.
We'll open up the cat door for you.
He's feeling too
bullied. Open up the cat door for you.
Literally the cat flap. He's half out of it as we say this. So about that final, of course, Warwick versus Essex. I mean, it's a bit of a weird one because we say Warwick redemption, but I think it's interesting to talk about the environment because, you know, you had the interview with Warden. He's like, basically, let's stop hitting the ball towards our own net. And it's a bit of a meme to say that Warwick sort of parked the bus, but it's fair to say they're a definitely defensive team and they rely on their defensive solidarity and basically effectively wait for mistakes. And it's fair to say that Essex, maybe in a playoff environment, are a bit of an inexperienced team, but that was such a convincing win because effectively it just looked like Essex got frustrated over the time. I don't know whether it's mentality. I think it's fair to say that they didn't really play their best if you saw that series. But it maybe plays into how Warwick didn't really succeed in league play because there's less pressure for teams and they sort of just chance their arm. And if Warwick are going to play to not lose, then effectively if they don't play to win enough, they end up losing. And it might be part of how they threw in league play. But in a playoff environment, when the pressure's on, it's a lot easier for their opponents, such as Essex in that final, to make mistakes. And I just feel like they looked like much more the experienced team in that finals.
After casting fadeaway for the grid the past few weeks, I feel like I can say now that Warwick kind of played the freaky ball, but as a university level, that works. That sort of, alright, get one goal in very quick, let's just defend the rest of the time because we know we're good quality defenders. The fadeaway, it doesn't work because there's a lot of quality attackers. But in terms of the university level stuff, there might be a few quality attackers, but you might not have the guy following up be of the exact same quality as the guy sort of flip resetting towards your net. So as soon as one save kind of comes through from Warwick, there might not be the follow-up that, say, a Loughborough team has, a UEA team has, to be able to finish off and score. So for Warwick, it kind of works out in the end. They sort of defend and think, all right, we're good enough. We can do that. And not only that, the other end of the pitch, they can sort of say, oh yeah, we're good enough. Let's score a few goals. Job done. So I think it comes down to Warwick are just kind of good at defense and that they were able to use it to their advantage very well.
I mean, you mentioned UEA. They kind of play a similar way, though. I think it's fair to say. Is that UEA definitely have a solid defense. It's just they've found a lot more success this season through it. Like,
it might come down to their transition being slightly better, and they might have sort of taken Warwick's defense and thought, all right, let's be a little bit more freeform, let's be a bit more freestyle with the way we do stuff. So their transition upfield is a lot quicker and a lot better with how they do things.
It definitely has to be how they put together, because if I look at the three players on the Warwick and the UEA team, I think Warwick have got a stronger team, marginally. But UEA clearly much bigger in terms of the sum of their parts. So it has to be how they go about executing that. Because as a team, they do just look a lot more coherent, or at least coherent enough that they haven't had the disaster weeks that have basically plagued Warwick's season this time. It's like, yeah, it's a shame. But Warwick, we've talked about them so much. You know, we know they've underperformed. We know that they could potentially show up big next season. But in terms of the question for Essex, right? Like, maybe I've talked about them too much, but like Hemi, are Essex going to do better next season? Like, what do we really expect?
You could definitely see sort of towards the end of league play, Essex restarted becoming a more formidable team, and I think going into next season, they're actually a genuine threat.
So like, yeah, I mean, they were an outshot going into. They needed like literally results to go their way massively in round one, but they were an outside shot at championship playoffs going into that final week. But should they have shown up earlier in the season, they might have had a lot more scenarios that could have worked in their favour. So, I mean, obviously we say that spring season is going to be harder, but there's no reason to rule out Essex. I guess it's fair to say.
Yeah, definite contenders for sort of top 10 range. I think they get into
spring
decent
gets
pushing,
harder because teams get better. So if Essex stay with the program and get better themselves, they can definitely be within a shot of getting championship. Definitely.
Okay, so approaching the tail end of this episode of the podcast, unfortunately, will have to eventually come to an end. Rounding up the community tournaments and potentially the ones to come, we did have Madge's charity tournament, which was awesome. I was so happy about it. I loved everything about it, and I think we all did until we saw that Madge won it himself. That's such an alpha male move.
I think it was earlier in the week asking, how did everything go? Do you have the bracket, Fred? He's like, yeah, here's the bracket. I won. Oh, cool.
Landing in South Africa is like, I've raised a load of money through a Rocket League tournament. See? Is that your name winning it? Yep. Yeah, it is.
I mean, I'm glad that Arsenal's not here anymore because we would probably mention that Derby did beat them in Game 5 in the semis.
Game 5.
Yeah.
So close.
Of course, Beavers
so
also
far.
Game 5 in the semis. I mean, there's some mad semi-finals. They beat Leeds in the semi-finals. The
Extremely
Beavers.
close.
Yeah.
I'm dragging this out so I can annoy him.
Exactly. I
So
mean,
very close.
such a painful loss.
Almost got it, man.
But then,
right there.
Of course, Madge got impatient towards the end. He just wanted to win his own tournament, so they did win 3-1 in the finals. The Beavers.
You know what he didn't almost.
What did he almost do?
He
like
didn't raise almost £0. I've really scuffed
true.
that, but he raised a lot of money. Like it's being
170.
highlighted right now, I think by Hemi, but 170 quid raised from the tournament, which is fantastic, amazing.
Yeah. So, for context, we have Madge is doing a climb Kilimanjaro for meningitis. I think the goal is £3,500 during the tournament itself. £170, mostly from the Rocket League community. So again, lads, we just always kill it.
I think by the end of the stream, it was about £360. I think I remember
that was
tweeting about
the full thing, but 170 during the tournament was what was added to the So just another heads up as well. Actually, for the first week ever, we actually have the link to the Just Giving page for Madge, and I will be putting it in the link of the description. Putting the link in the description. So please go down. However many pennies you have in your pocket, chuck them on.
Through the screen.
Anything to get this man up that mountain.
Through the screen, and indeed. I mean, in terms of the other community tournament that we, of course, might want to mention going into the new year, can you, RW Dragon?
Everyone. Well, quite a few people know that during August I ran something called the Dragon's Den Invitational, where I invited the top 8 teams, with inverted commas because Sheffield were there, to a invitational tournament. So 8 teams, single limb bracket, best of 7s throughout, and we ended up with Portsmouth winning with Canoy against Loughborough, which I didn't mention earlier. It was a very enjoyable tournament to put together. So I decided, you know what, that stress wasn't enough for me. So I decided to do it again. This time, the 23rd to the 24th, the nice little weekend that I'm hopefully catching just after exams finish for everyone. Because I believe that's the end of my exam period, so I'm being very selfish.
Just across the board, everyone will align.
We're going to have an exciting weekend of Rocket League. This time, 10 teams will be playing. 8 teams have been invited, the top 8 teams in NSE. Now you may be wondering, but Dragon, 8 teams doesn't equal 10. Well, here's the most exciting part, and here's what I'm excited to do. I am launching open qualifiers for those last 2 spots on January the 3rd, just after New Year's, so try not to get too tipsy, that it lasts a few days. The Stronghold qualifier will be open for anyone to play, anyone to stream. So originally my thought for the Dragon's Den was it's only going to be like one team representing a university. I decided just for the sake of so everyone can enjoy the event and everyone can come and say, oh yeah, I gave it a go, didn't make it, but it was fun. I decided to open the floor to any team. So any B teams that make it in over maybe their A team or join their A team, going to be the first in Dragon's Den Invitational history. So hopefully
In
people
all
will join
2
us.
tournaments. Wow.
So it is going to be UK only this time, as since sort of asked. I haven't actually thought about this yet because I didn't know Ireland could actually play until like now. I'm thinking about Northern Ireland because we face Queen's University Bristol. Not Bristol. Why am I insisting that it's Bristol? It's Belfast. I haven't thought about it yet with Ireland. You know what? Ireland, come and get some. If you think you can handle the UK teams, come and get a piece if you're hard enough.
Ireland.
So come on, Ireland. You'll be invited through the stronghold.
I mean, they can somehow break it through the EU border that will come into full force on the 1st of January as well.
Hopefully the Good Friday Agreement.
Exactly.
Not even sure what it means, to be honest. But,
Neither. Nobody does. But we do know that they are now eligible, officially, right now.
Officially, right now. I hadn't actually thought about it, but I'm glad someone pulled me up on it, so now I can make it official. UK and Ireland.
11:30 at night.
UK and Ireland,
Decided.
welcome to the Stronghold qualifier. Be available to you. Top 2 teams will make it into the Dragon's Den Invitational 2 and join the top 8. So far, I haven't had a denied invitation. A lot of people saying, we'll have to think about it, but still, the top 8 are still intact. The top 4, in fact, have confirmed their availability for that day. And not only that, because I have the spare money lying around in my student loans finance, I will be throwing in a prize pool. So, off my own back, I will be putting down
right there.
some money. I haven't actually decided. On the tip of my tongue is £200 to put down.
Oh my goodness, my gut just fell out my butt.
Prize pool. So I might have to stand with that now. I know I have the money for it, so don't worry.
Whoa, my goodness,
I'll be fine.
Sugar daddy.
But
Matt M's licking his lips right now, and you know it.
It is quite a bit of money putting off my own back, but you know what? £200 feels like a nice prize pool.
Okay. Well, you heard it here first. I mean, if that's not exciting, I don't know what is. And I can only think of one thing that could potentially raise the roof even higher than that, and that is the return of... That's right, they're back. They're bigger. They're better. The Hemis. Man with the crocodile voice. Introduce them.
You're really running with that joke.
In days long past, a single man took it upon himself after the request of a man he looked up to host an award show. And it went really poorly. So now she's come back and he knows what to do better. So that is right, ladies and gentlemen, the Hemis.
The champion.
The Hemis are back and better than ever, now without Warwick using an enormous army to flood the votes.
The most important change.
I looked at those form, all the people who submitted the forms, and I guarantee you, they only did MVP Walden and Rep, wherever his name was.
Wow.
Okay.
Walden was pretty good, though.
Was he MVP?
Was he MVP?
Raz,
to be honest, I have
like
met Raz, and he is a very good rep.
He is a very good rep. I did actually agree with the rep, since he somehow convinced 130 people to come into a form and vote for him. I think maybe that's...
pictures of dog walkers having like just a load of dogs on like 2 leashes just holding them out in front. That feels like Raz. That's pretty much what Raz does. It's insane.
So, without the Warwick influence, basically what's going to happen is straight after the NSE final on Saturday the 12th of December, the NSE have kindly offered, aka Just Sin, has kindly offered to host our very own Twitch channel. I'll be making a new channel just for this podcast as well, which will be found in the description below when I make it. But we're going to be doing a live podcast, recollecting both NUEL and NSE finals from the past 2 days. Obviously, NUEL happening this Friday, the grand finals of that. So we're counting both of those, and then finish off the podcast, we'll be doing the Hemis. So how it works this time is actually not the same as last time. You don't get to vote. You don't get to say who you think is going to do it. I do. Actually, no, you still do. Because what's actually going to happen is nominations. So there's a form in the description. I'll put it on the screen as well in case you're boring and want to type it out in your search bar.
I just paused the podcast. I tried to click it on the screen. Just paused it.
Cool. So, in the description, on the screen, wherever I can be asked to do, there'll be a link. Go to that, and there'll be, I think, 9. Currently, we have 9. Let me quickly check. I'm actually forgetting. I think there's 9 different awards being awarded here. So, let's quickly go over them. Just so you know what to be thinking about the next few days. It's an important decision. But we have Breakout Player, Best Match, Breakout Team, Biggest Blunder and Fail,
I'm excited.
Community Tournament, Most Disappointing Team, Best Play Highlight Clip, Best Rep Coach, and MVP of the season. And this all happens this winter season. So, NUEL winter, NSE winter, between September and December. That's when basically the best in that region. So, nothing considered before summer. So, if you think, oh my god, Films is a really good Breakout Player, he was last year. No one cares about him now. He's washed. That sort of thing.
Oh man.
So, it's all this season. So,
Too busy
go on to
playing
that.
pool
I'm literally just massively excited to watching all the nominations for Blunder of the Season live. Like, that's just going to make me so happy.
Oh no, I think I know what's going to end up winning that. Oh, I just thought about it.
I have my own idea. I know there's a particular one I'm thinking of, but it doesn't involve you, so I think you might be okay.
It involves someone else from Bournemouth. Oh no.
In terms of like disappointment of the season, in terms of a team, definitely Bournemouth Red might be in contention given the amount of times you didn't show up at
I'm
all.
not even going to be mad about that. That's a fair response.
Yeah, to be fair, wherever you think is worthy of an award, nominate it, and it will be given to the council. So, unlike last time, we are going to be having a team, 6 people. Me, Vex, Tylacto, and a member of the community of our choice, so 1 each, will be coming together and deciding on the winners. We're still unsure whether it's going to happen live, the decision, because that would take a bit of prep, but I think it could be possible if make some interesting content if we actually decide on the day. But what will happen is we have a spreadsheet, silent voting. Everyone will sort of put the top 3. I'm thinking of
ranked choice voting with very valid discussion.
So yeah, everyone will choose their top 3. Give them points for first, more points for first, less points for second, less points for third, and whoever gets the most out of all 6 of us, that will be the winner. So we are going to ensure, especially since a lot of collusion happened last time, we're going to choose community members who represent the community as a whole and not just our biased opinions.
And not Warwick.
And not Warwick. Actually, maybe Warwick. One person from Warwick, if someone can get him. Maybe. I mean, it is a big part of the community.
I have my thoughts on nominations already.
You do? Well, you can just put them in the form.
Exciting! I can do that right
The
now.
form.
Go down the discussion right now and do it.
Do it, coward.
So, yeah, winners will be decided before or on stream. Council members will present their opinions. I believe I'm trying to have all of them on stream at the same time, so give their sort of rundown of why this person probably did deserve the win, because they will.
Open the form for a surprise at the top of the page.
The question is, will you then hand deliver them a Hemi?
No.
What?
There is no prize other than pride.
Maybe not just like a JPEG of a trophy that says Hemi on it?
Yeah, maybe.
Ooh, that's exciting. Can I have shots?
Basically, all we're getting from this is your name on stream for 10 seconds as people say congrats.
I want it over a watermarked picture.
But it is important to say this is basically going to be a streamed podcast episode, and we will be uploading the VOD to YouTube basically either on the day or maybe the day after.
Hopefully we can have chat.
Sunday.
Chat somehow. If we can have that on preserved, it'd be fantastic. I want to see the reaction of Warwick in chat when they don't win a single award.
When the council denies them. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much all I need to say about that. Just look forward to that after the NC finals. And of course, we have a very packed weekend. So there's NUEL, go watch that Friday. I'm not sure what time. It might say in the bracket. It might not. Go check. NSE, we have Lank vs Luff. The 3rd place match, the 1v1v1v1v1v1v1v1v1. And then, of course, the NSE Finals. So a very, very packed Saturday, and of course topped off by us.
And I to be honest, I think the only way we can end this episode right is by putting in Sin's thoughts about who might win the 1v1v1v1v1.
Sin, would you care to comment on who you think would win the 1v1v1v1v1v1v1? V1. Yeah.
Me. I did. We tested it in Uni 6 Mans and I won. Wow. Comfortably.
Comfortably, lads. Comfortably.
So that is a hot take to end our episode there. And please show up big in the 1v1v1v1v1 so that Sin can't be the winner of it and his ego is kept in check. So thank you very much for listening. We will see you next week, of course, live on Saturday after NSE Finals. I'll say it again. I say next week. It's in very, very quickly.
Yeah, this week. Maybe tomorrow, if the podcast is up tomorrow, which I'm going to try.
And
Bit of a coward.
That's a confusing sentence, but we're recording this on Thursday, and I'm tired. I'm not going to edit.
I tired. I'm RW.
We can end it there.
that will conclude our happy episode. Thank you very much for listening. And bye from all of us. Bye from me, and bye from RW Dragon. And again, I will not ask Kemi.
Bye.